yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. That I doesn't change anything. Doesn't change the mission. I still need to work for everything myself. Okay, let's try that again. I forgot to press record on my camera. Anyway, today I'm going to be talking about why you should seek out pain and suffering and discomfort. And I know when I say that kind of sounds counterintuitive to how we're all wired and what most of us seek for, which is comfort and for everything to be okay and financial stability, etc., etc. And I don't think those are inherently bad things or negative things, especially if you want kids, because I think if you want kids, you need to get to a specific point where that's a big driving factor for wanting that stability and that comfort, is so that you can provide a decent upbringing and life for your children, so that they don't feel less fortunate than those at their school or around them, the other kids, etc. So it's not inherently a bad thing. But why I say you should seek pain and suffering is because through those processes, the person who you're going to become and start to mold into is the person that can handle anything. And if you don't go through that, it doesn't really matter how financially comfortable or stable you are, how good your family life is, or how neat and clean your home is, because huge catastrophes always come up. People have terrible illnesses, people lose jobs, financial crises, is that a word? I don't know. Big things always come up emotionally and financially that you need to be able to deal with. And I feel like if you haven't put yourself through voluntary suffering and pain to become the person that's able to deal with those things later in life, it's going to be very hard on you when those big things do happen, and you're not going to be the person that people can depend on, and you're not going to be someone that can handle that. So it's kind of like thickening your skin to that, like building up your tolerance to that pain and that suffering that is inevitably going to come. I mean, we all have parents. Our parents are going to die. That's one thing that's inevitable. We have pets. I just got a French bulldog. Your pet's going to die. Loved ones are going to get very sick. There's going to be a time in your life where you're financially really stressed out, even if you're not now. And so you need to be able to deal with this. I think the best way to do that is to put yourself through pain and suffering early on, so that you can build a thick skin towards those things. And also because, it not only molds you in that way, like makes you more tolerant to big things, big catastrophes happening, but I've just noticed so many other good things happen in my life when I've done that. Like, because I've also done that in the gym, like put myself through pain and suffering in the gym. Now I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I've done that with my business by putting myself under intense pressure, by just trying to do it full time when I wasn't even making enough money to cover my bills, doing it full time. But I just took the leap of faith, and I've made strides in that, and now I'm good, still doing it full time. It's just, I've just seen so much good come from doing that and putting myself under immense stress and pressure. And fair enough, not everyone might be able to handle that, and I think it is more of a masculine thing than it is a feminine thing. But I still think if you're a girl or a woman, it's still important to do that in specific ways. It doesn't have to be the same as your husband or your boyfriend or whatever men in your life, but I still think it's important to do in specific ways, especially emotionally, so that you can just develop your character in that way. It's just been like the craziest journey for me, like introducing that into my life, and then just actually seeing how much, not pleasure comes out of that pain, because that sounds weird, but how much fulfillment, I guess, comes out of that. Because when you put yourself through things and you come out on the other side, like having done that and having endured that and made it out, you feel proud of yourself, you feel fulfilled, you feel like you're a competent individual. And I guess I'll just talk about kind of my life right now, and because I've spoken a lot about my past especially over like in these videos, like the last year and a half for me, going from having a job to doing it full time to moving around a bunch and blah blah blah, and how I've built up my business. So go watch the other videos if you want to see about that. But kind of where that comes up for me currently in my life is that I just got a girlfriend. It's going really well. It is still very early on, but I could see, down the line us living together, and I don't know, everything aligns really well. So I think it's going to be a long-term thing, right? Which is exciting. But her parents, I guess not she, but her parents are really well off, and they have a lot of money. And that's great. That's like a great thing for them. I'd be lying if I sat here and said that's not a good thing for me either, because obviously, like we said, inherently we seek stability and comfort and wellness for us and for those around us. So that's not a negative thing. Obviously, I would never be with someone just for financial reasons or something like that. But also the struggle in my mind with that is that I don't ever want to use that as like a crutch, or not push myself to the fullest extent because of that. Because I know, I'm lucky that I'm in this position because I've done it for long enough, like put myself through pain and suffering to become a better person. I've been doing that for long enough to know that that's the correct path, and the correct path is never a handout, or just taking stability over that, and not, I guess, choosing stability over growth, personally and in business, etc. And so where I sit with that now is that I don't ever want to use that as a crutch or stop my personal growth and my business growth, or slow it down because I'm like, oh, well, her family has money, and so I'll be set. It's gonna be fine. Like, that's not a good answer. That's not a good solution or a good outcome, because if you haven't become like the man yourself, especially with this journey that if I don't become the man that I want to become through my own success and my own ventures and my own business and my own career and my own life and my own body, my own everything, if I don't do that through my own avenue and I just kind of take handouts, I'm never going to be satisfied. I'm not going to be happy with myself. You could have like all the money in the world, or you could have everything that you'd ever dreamed of, but if you didn't work for it yourself, it's really meaningless, and it's not the path that I want to be on. Like, there's nothing like exciting about that for me, or there's nothing fulfilling about just like taking handouts. So then once again, the flip side is I'd be lying if I sat here and said like, or ignored the fact that they have like a lot of money, right? If I sat here and I was like, oh, it doesn't have an impact on, obviously it's going to have an impact on my life, but that's separate from what I'm attacking and what I am doing. And that is the path that I need to stay on, because that is the path to fulfillment for me, and to self-respect, and to just feeling like I'm who I set out to be, and I'm still becoming who I set out to be. And so that I think is a really important thing. I know my situation's like a bit niche. I'm sure not a lot of other people are like in the same situation that I'm going through, but I just thought it was interesting to kind of sit on and like talk about it a little bit and think about, because it really, you see this all the time too with people like billionaires' kids or millionaires' kids or whatever. Like, they're not happier because like their parents have a lot of money, or they have a lot of money. Like, that doesn't bring any type of fulfillment or anything to their lives, because they know deep down they haven't worked for it. They haven't done that themselves. And I think especially back to the man-woman thing, especially as a man, it's very important to feel like you've done it yourself and that you are competent. I think that is so, so important. And yeah, my puppy's whining. and you go let him out, it was great. But yeah, that is why it's just so important for me that I don't let that cloud anything that I'm doing or change anything that I'm doing. I don't know if that really made sense where I like spat it all out there, but it's just something I guess that like has been on my mind, and I want to make sure I'm always choosing the like righteous path and the path that's going to lead to the person that I want to become. So the fact that their family's well off, it doesn't, in essence, I guess it doesn't really make a difference. There are positives that I would be foolish to not see, but there's also negatives that I have to be aware of, that I have to be aware that I don't let those negatives impact the way I conduct business or the way I go about growing myself as a human, as an individual. Yeah, that's really that. I hope that kind of made sense. But yeah, no, she's great, and her family's lovely, and things have been going really well. It's just something, I guess I've never been with a girl before who, like, they have that level of wealth, I guess. I mean, they're not freaking like billionaires, but they're very well off. Like, they're very well off, I would say. So I guess it's interesting for me because it's new for me too, and so I'm trying to figure it out, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. That I doesn't change anything, doesn't change the mission. You know, I still need to work for everything myself. Because even me as a child, like, my parents weren't like rich, but they were always fine, and they were able to provide for me and my brother, and we weren't ever really like without, you know. It was stable. So, and even then, I don't know, there was something inside of me that was like rejected that in a way, because I guess deep down I knew that I hadn't worked for it. I felt like I hadn't worked for it. I hadn't earned it myself. Even just that baseline level of stability. And I think my puppy's whining. And I think that's just inherently inside a lot of men. That desire. Sorry, let me go deal with him. He's fucking whining. Okay, sorry, where was I? That's just inherently in a lot of men, that desire to do it all yourself, to be really capable of achieving whatever you want to do through the avenues that you pick, and it's all your hard work. And so I think even as a child, like, just living under my parents' roof, and, you know, living for free, I guess, and eating for free, whatever, there was something about that I didn't like, that my mind rejected, that I wanted to free myself from it and do myself. So it's interesting to see it kind of come back, that feeling come back now. And I think that's just the way I'm built. I think I'm just built that way, you know. I know that, like, shortcuts are never the answer, and I want to I don't know, just do everything myself. And then, you know, then that question kind of comes up. And I've thought about this topic too, like when you have kids, when you raise kids, what's the right way to raise them in terms of that? Because you do want to provide them with like a baseline level of stability and comfort, and you also want them to enjoy their childhood, but you don't want to create a situation where they then expect that after childhood, and once it's their turn to go into the real world and you know, develop themselves as a person and in their careers, you don't want them to still have that childlike mindset of like, oh, everything's just going to come to me, you know, I don't have to work, I don't have to pay with things for my own money, like, money just going to come to me. So I don't know, that's for a while, you know. I'm not planning on having kids for years, so that's okay. But that is like an interesting kind of thing to think about too, and how you raise your kids in terms of that, because you don't want to deprive them, because depriving them would teach them the lessons they need for adult life, while comfort will ensure that they enjoy their childhood. But there's positive and negatives to both. Obviously, you don't want to deprive your kid. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to do that, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Yeah, it's I don't quite know where I sit with that, but that's still something I got to figure out. But I got time, like I said. Anyway, that's why I think you should seek pain and suffering. It just molds you into the best version of yourself that is able to then handle everything in any situation that can come up later in life. I think it's very important, especially as a man. Yeah, I think that's the end of my rant. Hope you liked this little one, and yeah, I'll see you guys next week.